You know the digital guys are in town when you all get to watch loads of cool videos with pulsating house beats, and I've got a few more for you. As speaker noted, I recently moved on from Endemol Shine, which was quite a frustration for this panel because I had to rip up my presentation and start again. But my career generally has tracked the evolution of the digital content industry, and what I'd like to speak to you guys about today is firstly, set the scene for what we achieved at Endemol Beyond, talk about how we built networks, talk about how we started transition from just being a linear business to creating our own audiences in digital, but then start to have a look at how I see the industry evolving from short form through to long form and premium digital content. So firstly, a bit of a roundup of the stuff that we created during the time at Beyond.
Hey everyone, I'm Michelle Fawn, introducing you to Icon UK.
This is Legends of Gaming.
I got it! Second! Let's go! Come on! You seeing this? That ain't nothing! Give it the beat! I'm trying out different sports.
Wow, I didn't see that one coming.
You make the best content anyone will have ever seen with their eyes.
So I was assured there wasn't going to be any lag on that when we previewed it upstairs, but it kind of worked anyway. There was the story about what we were creating kind of came through. So if we have a look at Endemol's evolution, I mean, you'll all understand and know Endemol Shine for the great heritage we have in building huge global formats that have the ability to travel. So my initial focus of the job was to come in and start to think about how we can monetize that extensive library of content. And across all of these great brands, MasterChef, Big Brother, Peaky Blinders, all the old classics, Nog Marry Avoid, Hotter Than My Daughter, actually turned into a gold mine of viral content that we ingested into the system, chopped up, and then got out and distributed across all platforms, YouTube, Facebook, etc., with incredible success in terms of reach and also our commercialization of that. But I suppose the second iteration of my career there was about how we could start to transition from being that traditional linear business to starting to cultivate and grow our own audiences online. And we raised around about £21 million internally to spend on a global studio called Endemol Beyond. The vision there was how we could really produce those original shows that related to audiences that weren't necessarily watching our linear productions. And we launched some incredible products, including Rule 'em Sports, which is currently the fastest growing sports channel on YouTube. It's generated over 150 million views on that platform alone. We launched a global brand called Legends of Gaming, which is now in 8 different markets across the world and has done incredibly well for us. And Icon UK, which was an initiative to speak to 16 to 24-year-old girls founded by a lady called Michelle Fawn, who's an international US creator. Another partnership that we developed was with Awesomeness TV, who have been mentioned a couple of times today. And their vision was to actually come to a company like Endemol in order to extend their global reach. Massively popular in the US, but we actually ended up producing their channel in 5 different markets across Europe in order to connect their brand with new audiences that they weren't reaching. So in total, the network, in the space of 2 years, amassed over 200 million unique views and went on to gain 2.5 million subscribers. And we see one of the real strengths of that network in our ability to actually start to build production hubs outside of the UK. So we've still got production hubs that are incredibly successful in Germany, Brazil, France, Israel, and Spain. First question I always get asked is, you great audiences, but how do you monetize any of that? What's the business model? What does it look like? To be honest, it is difficult and it's multifaceted. There are a number of areas that you need to be active in order to try and squeeze those digital dollars. A lot of our revenue came from ad funding, from platform advertising. So at our height, our network was generating 1 to 1.5 billion views per month. The advertising revenue that you're getting from YouTube and Facebook isn't huge, but when you attribute that across a network the size of 1 to 2.2 billion views, that starts to add up to some really significant monthly revenues. So our content ID and our content operations department is doing incredibly well and bringing in huge revenues for the company off programs that have been sat on shelves for 20 years. We started to work a lot more with brands. We obviously had relationships with some of the UK and the world's biggest social influencers, and we knew how to cultivate audiences and build channels, and so it became quite an attractive proposition to agencies and to brands direct to actually say, how can we help you guys connect with the cord-cutting audience that aren't necessarily engaging with your adverts on television? We secured some interesting partnerships with L'Oreal and PlayStation to sponsor Icon and Legends of Gaming. So they were deep integrated partnerships that delivered significant reach for those brands. But what I think I started to see during the end of our tenure at Endemol was a move for brands away from sponsoring programs, away from investing in the IP creation of other companies, to brands wanting to be media owners and actually kind of build their own audiences, build their own content propositions. And that led to us doing a partnership with Coke TV, which was their global initiative to really bring a digital content strategy to the heart of the business. They realized that audiences sub 18 had stopped drinking Coke quite dramatically and really wanted to reinvigorate and re-engage those kind of communities. So we built YouTube channels that saw these social influencers go on incredible adventures, all enjoying fabulous Coke moments, and the results for them in terms of engagement and brand sentiment uplift were really, really sizable. I think the last area of monetization that we experimented with was actually how we could start to transition audiences from purely digital audiences to actually engaging with us in the live environment, the live real world. And with Legends of Gaming, we launched a live event that had its second season in Alexandra Palace last year. And we actually got 15,000 of our audience members to join, pay £20, £25 a ticket, and actually enjoy the spectacle of Legends of Gaming live on stage. I've been in this industry for a fairly long time, and it's so important that we don't get too swept up with audience reach and how many numbers that we can achieve in terms of impressions, views. It's really important to understand that our audiences have the ability and the intentions to transact. And so anyone that's experimenting with digital audiences, always try and encourage them to pay for content, to maybe join you at a live event, maybe buy a magazine. It always shows you the intention of your audience has to actually move towards paying in the pounds. So a lot of our time was spent building short-form platforms over the 3-4 years that I was heading up Beyond. However, we started to see a real demand for more premium scripted long-form programs. We had just finished a show with BBC Three, which was a short comedy series, a sketch comedy series. We then launched a Channel 4 on all 4 dating drama. And our biggest show that we got commissioned was Dan TDM Creates a Big Scene, which was a YouTube Red series. It's one of the first UK productions for YouTube Red. And it allowed us to transition one of our digital talents, this chap here, Dan TDM. He's amassed over 13 billion global views and has 12 to 13 million subscribers. He's an absolute UK phenomenon. But we had the ability to transition him from just a YouTube creator into his own scripted comedy series. And I think that's a trend that we're really going to see continue as the years progress. If you look at the scripted drama space, we know it's making a sizable impact on television. My consumption diet is basically spent hunting around Netflix, Amazon, Hulu for the latest scripted drama show. And I think they said in 2016 there were over 500 scripted drama shows across all platforms. That's up around 7% from 2015, where there's around about 460. So obviously, scripted drama is playing a big role in the overall content consumption landscape. But if you start to narrow that down and look specifically at the digital sector, the growth is absolutely staggering. I managed to squeeze a chart in here which will show you some of those trends. If you look at the top section here in the purple section, you'll see in 2011 there were only 6 scripted dramas on any digital service. If you look at 2016, there's been 93 scripted dramas exclusively launched on digital platforms. That's a growth of 1,450% in the space of 5 years. Now, we know Netflix and Amazon are really leading this charge. 90% of that growth is attributed just to those 2 platforms. But I think it's also good to have a bit of a look at how much money these companies are spending on digital scripted originals. So Netflix budget for 2016 was $6 billion, and they think it might hit around $7 billion this year. Amazon are trying to keep them in check, neck and neck. They spent last year around about $4.5 billion on digital first series. HBO, to give you a reference point, are spending around about £2 billion a year on their productions. Now, we know they're more TV-like shows. I'm not trying to say that Amazon and Netflix are producing what I would call digital native productions. But what we are seeing is a lot of new players coming into town that are actually producing internet-like content at scale. We've got partners like Verizon Go 90 in the US, who are a mobile carrier moving into the original content space. They spent £200 million. In Europe, we'll see this year companies like Studio Plus, part of the Vivendi group. They've put forward £30 million in original productions. Full Screen have spent around about £100 million on their teen-based SVOD service. And Black Pills, another company to watch. They have really ambitious plans to create a digital-first content platform that speaks to Generation Z predominantly. So we're seeing an increase in content. We're seeing an increase in platforms that want to serve and commission and pay for that content. And inevitably, that's going to lead to an increase in the need for us to distribute that content globally. So we're seeing an upside in a huge range of new digital-only distribution businesses. So to give you a quick snapshot of what the landscape looks like at the moment, most of this really is LA-based. There's been huge volumes of digital studios that are having huge success in LA. Astronauts Wanted are a fabulous digital-only production company. Newform Digital making some great shows. As I say, Awesomeness TV, we work closely with that business. They have 21 scripted TV shows or films in development this year. And then, as I said, we're seeing a lot more of the subscription platforms launching. Full Screen attacking the market with their SVOD service. Rooster Teeth, a fabulous business, very niche, very indie, male-skewed comedy network. But they actually have managed to transact that YouTube-based following into an SVOD play themselves. Verizon Go 90, I'm really excited about the mobile carriers' potential within this market to create original content to speak to those audiences. And then I'm really hoping that we start to see more of that transition towards the European and international markets, companies like Studio Plus and Black Pills. So I think we see a real development in not only the level of production that's going into these digital shows, but also the level of commercial revenue that we can start exploiting through these digital shows. And that has led me to think that it's a great time to actually join a company that's trying to pioneer a new digital-first studio model, and that's Gunpowder and Sky. So, Gunpowder and Sky are a 360 studio. We're taking a traditional studio approach, but thinking how we can reinvent that so that it works on digital economics with digital audiences in mind. We have development and production, recently acquired a US production company called Supergravity. So we understand how to create great digital shows. We have that skill set acquired into the business to give us the scale. We also have a marketing and development partner. So we currently do all the marketing for all of Verizon Go 90's digital first series. We do all of the marketing for YouTube Red's series. So that allows us not only to produce great content, it allows us to market and find our audience. We also have financing ability, so we can commission and greenlight our own shows, either independently or with partners. And finally, we are able to get that film and TV content out to the market through an acquisition that we recently did with Film Buff, who are the biggest digital distribution company in the market at the present time. So start to look at the sort of slate that we've acquired. In the space of 2 years, we've already acquired 1,500 titles into the library. Fantastic productions like Senna. You know, there is another window of opportunity to monetize that digitally outside of the traditional windows. Laser Team was one of YouTube's most successful YouTube Red series that actually launched back end of last year and had a limited theatrical release in the US and actually did well theatrically in the USA. So just a great range of programming targeting that millennial Gen Z audience. We're also looking at new partnerships with new platforms and new players. We released a drawn and recorded series with Kurt Cobain, animation about some of his most incredible moments with Spotify. We have productions in place with Netflix and Amazon, and we actually just acquired an award-winning production, Hounds of Love, from the Cannes Festival. So that gives you a bit of a roundup of the sort of productions that we're into and what Gunpowder and Sky is all about. I thought I'd leave you with a trailer. I'm hoping that the actual dialogue does sync with this, otherwise it's going to be completely and utterly random and crazy, but that's not a bad reflection of the film either. Thanks for your time.
Beautiful morning, sisters.
Hey, don't fucking talk to us. Get the fuck out of here.
Sister Ginevra, Sister Fernanda, Sister Alessandra, Sister Maria. These are your sins.
Bling bling, bitch, do my own thing, bitch.
Filthy conversation.
Mind your own fucking business.
Lustfulness. Homosexuality.
It's too tight.
Did you roll your eyes?
No.
You were rolling your eyes.
Wake up, little bitches, let me show you how to live.
You're insane. You've been so...
You're gonna get me fucking killed.
Bring me his goddamn balls.
Preaching to you little bitches, did you hear what I said?
Girls can be tough, I'm not gonna lie. They can be very tough.
What is this shit?
It's a turnip.
That's not a turnip, it's shit! Who are you? Not fair, you're just stuck here with all these bitches.
So respect my business. Bling bling, bitch, do my own thing, bitch.
Let me fall after I've sinned. I have slept with another man's wife. Sometimes she would place her mouth around my sex.
Yeah, well, that's sodomy.
I thought sodomy was just when someone would penetrate the rear.
That's also sodomy.
Right.
Did you do that?
I did.
And my thought for loving Sarah.
What is wrong with her?
She is on drugs!
All my hot girls with me. Dance around and bounce those titties.
It's the longest list I've ever had. Apostasy, abusive language, heresy, revelings, eating blood. Do you think I've ever written down eating blood before? Where am I?
Bling bling, bitch, do my own thing, bitch. Fuck a wedding ring, that ding-a-ling was just a fling, bitch.
What is this magic? You have something
Ring, that ding-a-ling was just a fling, bitch.
A lot of fun, thanks.
Thanks very much, Randel. Very entertaining. Do we have any questions from the audience on that or your journey there? If not, just one from me. Why do we persist in calling this stuff digital? Isn't everything digital these days?
Absolutely. I think the only way that you can reference it as digital now is where it's distributed and displayed. I think when you think about digital first, it means that we're thinking about new online platforms as the core of our business model. So how can we reach those audiences? You know, it might be that we actually do a limited theatrical release, but that won't be the core focus of the company. And I think that that's quite innovative. There's not many media companies that have actually truly put digital as a first point of call for their strategy and then think about how they can monetize it outside of that.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you.